Hey guys, Raleigh here. The 89 Chevy 3/4 ton 4x4 pickup, OBS, old body style, if you will. What I'm talking about today is my air conditioning wasn't working, so I had to do some troubleshooting with it. This originally was an R12 system. It was converted over to R134. If you don't know what that is, look up another video. It was converted to the newer refrigerant, but the compressor essentially is the same. It's just the fittings are different, okay? Issue I was having, my dad converted this thing to 134 back 15 years ago, 10 years ago maybe. Added a new compressor, and it wasn't cycling on or off. So there's a couple things you can check, pressure, that sort of thing. It ended up being a switch in my case, and I want to show you how I found it, and I also want to show you something else, because I went ahead and replaced the compressor. So if you look, let's see. Yeah, I want to make sure I got it centered on the camera there. So this is the air compressor, or I'm sorry, the AC compressor right here. I went ahead and put a new one in. That's pretty easy too. I'm not going over the install or what have you. Big thing are the switches. So there's a switch on the back of this thing. That's where these kind of rigged white wires are going into. Mine had a single post switch, and I was having a heck of a time finding that single post switch. Well, they don't make it anymore. So that was the big thing I want to talk to you guys about. They don't make that switch anymore. They converted it to a 2-wire switch. So just go ahead, you know, when you're trying to figure out why doesn't it fit, go ahead, get the 2-post switch. It's a real easy wiring connection. At the end of the day, if you can imagine, one wire is going into the old one, okay? The new one's gonna come with, asking for the one with a harness. So it's gonna be a 2-wire harness. One of those wires goes to the original wire, and one of them goes to a ground. Just find a ground anywhere on the truck. So that's what I did. It seems to work fine. That ended up not being the issue with my AC though. The issue is the switch on the accumulator, which is actually the low pressure switch. So I'll show you where that's at right here. The accumulator is on the passenger side of the firewall. It's this kind of canister right here. And the switch is on the side. Let's see if I can get a good shot of it. That's what the switch looks like right there, okay? That's a dual post switch, at least in this model. You'll notice there's some dye there. It was leaking a little bit. This ended up being the trouble. So the way that I found that this was the issue, and you don't want to do this as a permanent fix, but I just kind of cable tied the original wire up so that it was out of the way so it wouldn't touch any metal. And you can see there's 2 different posts in that connector, okay? I just took a staple and jumped the 2, and lo and behold, when your AC's on, my compressor did kick on, which tells me that the switch was the issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let me turn the AC on in the pickup. So I'll just put it on, whatever, low AC. And I'll show you how I did this. You guys can go ahead and cuss me for doing this, but it's a good way to test your switches. And at the end of the day, it's just testing. It's just sending the signal open or closed, right? That's what a switch does. So I went ahead and I took a staple and a pair of needle nose pliers. So a staple like that kind of bent it so it's the right width. And if you look right here, if you just jump those 2 connectors, you can hear my compressor kick on. Let me force it in there so it'll stay. Again, I'm not saying this is a permanent fix. It's not, because you'll blow up your compressor, okay? I'm just saying this is a good way to test the switch. So, there go my pliers. You can see I got the staple kind of jumped over the 2. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I had the camera on backwards, so anyway. That was the fix, and if you look now, the compressor's running. And it's ice cold in the cab. I already added the Freon and whatever. I put the vacuum on the lines. Oh yeah, nice and cold. Now when I take this staple off, you'll notice that sound different. The the clutch disengages. Okay, so that's how I was able to test it. I'm not gonna prove to you that the switch wasn't working before. Because plugged in, it wasn't cycling at all, which prompted me to put a new compressor in. Again, it was 15 years old, so why not? Cleaned out the lines. I replaced the orifice tube. That's another thing you guys want to make sure you do. It's just up from the, it's going to be your red fitting or your high pressure fitting. It's kind of a fatter section. Let me turn this thing around. I can't. This fatter section right here is where it sits. Take this fitting apart. You're going to pull this tube out. Mine was full of gunk, so I just replaced it. It was like $2. And that fitting normally has the red cap on it, just so you guys know. So red fitting on. The low side's going to be your blue. I gotta wait for AutoZone to open so I can go down and get a new switch, but I know my AC works. What that's gonna require, I've got to keep the vacuum hoses, okay? So once you put a vacuum on your system using these manifolds, or these gauges, this right here, and this vacuum pump, I rented all that. It was like $300 to rent, but you get all that money back from AutoZone. So make sure you do that. It sucks all the, it gives a negative vacuum in the, or a positive vacuum, whatever. It gives a vacuum on the system. That's how you got to do AC, at least the older styles like this. So that's what I did. Again, my name's Raleigh. Thank you all for watching. I hope this helps, especially with the switch on the compressor. The old style is a single post. They now do a dual post, so just make sure to get the dual post, but get the kind with a harness, or you can figure out how to rig it up yourself. But the harness has got the nice fitting in it. So thank you all for listening. Have a good one.